Welcome to Digital Literacy, a guide to using technology and journalism. This week we're going to talk about CMS, three letters that don't necessarily mean anything, but they also mean an awful lot. CMS stands for Content Management System, and CMS is basically the graphical interface that you would use to feed information into a database. And if you're scratching your heads and worrying about this at this point in time, don't worry. If you've ever used Twitter or Facebook, you have used a CMS. Essentially what it is, again, it's a graphical interface. It gives you fields to plug information into, and then it takes that information, stores it in a database so that it can be called up later on. So here's what we're going to work on this week. We're going to create our own website. We're going to create a WordPress site. We're going to choose a template so that we can control the way things display on them. We're going to start talking about categories, which is a way of grouping different posts that we're going to put into our WordPress site together. We're going to talk about tags, which is another way of grouping things together. It's a little looser. We're also going to talk about comments, because if you're going to start creating your own online website, usually a blog, common phrase for it, you're going to want to get traffic to it. And the way you do that is through commenting on other people's sites and driving traffic to your own. And then we're going to go ahead, create an about page, create a post, and we're going to start sharing this information with the world. So let's get started. First thing you're going to do is, before you come into class, you need to go over to WordPress.com. Now, make sure you go to WordPress.com as opposed to WordPress.org. It's the same organization, but it's two different sides of it. WordPress.com allows hosted websites or hosted blogs. So you'll end up with your username, which I'll explain here in a moment, .wordpress.com. You don't have to pay anything. You don't have to control your own website. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. If later on you decide that you want to have your own domain name, so you want to get yourname.com or yourname.net, you can go to WordPress.org and you can download the WordPress software. It's freeware, which means that you can download it. You don't have to pay for it. You can then install it on your own website, and you can have your own self-hosted domain name driven blog here. So it's a quick and simple thing to do, to create a WordPress.com site, to create something using the WordPress software on your own site. It's an entirely different level of complexity, although it's not brutal. The nice thing about WordPress is there's a huge user community out there that will help you with almost any question. So again, you're going to go to WordPress.com, and in the upper right-hand corner, you're going to see this big orange button that says Sign Up Now. So go ahead and click on that. Two things you want to think about. First, what email address are you going to use? You have to give them an email address so that you can log in, so that you can get information forward or backwards. I would recommend against using your uga.edu email address for a couple of reasons. Hopefully, this is going to continue on beyond your college career. That's the main reason there. So you want an email address that's going to be with you for quite a while. All right, so that's the first thing. The second thing is you want to think about what you want to call your blog. If you can get yourname.wordpress.com, that's fantastic. If you can't get your name, get something that's a close proximity to it. Stay away from really cute or UGA-oriented ones unless you're going to create a blog that's specific to a topic. Now, once I click login here, you're going to see up are going to pop all of the different sites that I have. So I've got the Mark E. Johnson blog. That's the one we're going to work with today. But I also have different sites in here for different classes: the Intro to Photo class, documentary photography, multimedia, advanced photojournalism, along with a whole bunch of things for the management seminar for college news editors. And there's actually even more that go beyond the ones that are displaying here. So you can create multiple blogs. So let's say that you decide that you want to do a special project looking at agriculture in Northeast Georgia. Maybe you can get agriculturenortheastgeorgia.wordpress.com, which is kind of long and wordy, so I'd recommend against that. But think about what it is that you want to call your site. Once you've gone ahead and created that, you're going to come in and you're going to click on Dashboard. And what this is going to do is this is going to bring up your main area for your site. Now, you're going to get a whole bunch of information that sits in here. The first thing is a whole bunch of information about your blog over here on the left. And then these are different ways of controlling and altering appearances and things like that. You've got a big panel that sits here that tells you how many posts you have, how many comments you have, how many comments need to be approved or pending, how many you have for spam. One of the things you'll learn over time is you get a lot of spam. Built into WordPress is something called Akismet, and Akismet is a fantastic spam filter. You will not have a huge problem with spam on WordPress, but you do want to go in and check that from time to time, because sometimes it catches things that aren't necessarily spam. Over here in the lower right hand corner, you can see that you got your stats. It generates stats automatically for you, so it tells you how many people have looked at it. Since there's nothing on the site, nobody has gone looking at that. You can also do a quick post right here. I tend not to do quick posts. because it's fairly limited in what I can control there, but it is there. All right, so the first thing that we're going to want to do now that we're here is we're going to go in and we're going to do some user settings. So we're going to come down to the bottom of this left-hand column of information and click on Settings, and you're going to see a whole bunch of interesting things in here. You can go in and you're going to want to give your site a title. So I've got this as Marky Johnson's blog. I'm going to leave that alone. You can give it a tagline, which is basically a subhead for it. And so we're going to do this as a demo for digital, if I can spell, literacy. All right. My email address, again, is in here. This is going to be used if I have comments that need to be approved. If I have any problems with the site, I'll get an email there. Time zone is something that you want to set in here. If you're in the East Coast, you are at, let's see, UTC -4, I believe, right now. Yep. And it'll tell you, once you change this right below it, what your date and time is. All right. It'll give you options for how you want to display the date format and the time format. Your week starts on, for us, Sunday, and the language. Once you've done all of this, go ahead and click Save Changes. This is important to get this set up. Right? There's a whole bunch of other things that are in here as well on how you can set this up to write. One of the things I like to do is come in under Writing Settings and change the size of the post box to 20 lines. This will make sense a little bit later on, but what it's going to do is the box that you have to type on, if you leave it at 10 lines, it's a fairly small box. I like to double that to 20. It's still fairly easy to see what's going on. You can set up a default post category now. We have no categories now, so we can't do anything with that. So we're going to leave that alone. Discussion is another one that you may want to come in and just check to make sure that this stuff makes sense. You can do some things like automatically close comments on articles that are older than a specific time. I tend to leave that unchecked because I want people to be able to come back and continue conversations as they're going through this. Email you whenever somebody posts a comment or a comment is held for moderation, things along those lines. You can actually go in there and you can block certain IP addresses if you're having spam problems. Again, you're probably not going to have a whole lot of problems with that. All right, so the next area that we're going to go to is the appearance, and this is where you're going to get to choose the template. Now, when you feed information into a content management system, all it's doing is going into this giant database. When somebody loads your website, when somebody loads your blog page, it draws information out of that database and displays it. Now, there are about 99, actually there's exactly, as of today, 99 different templates that you can choose from. So you can scroll through these and you can just click on preview to see if it's something that you're interested in. Now, it's telling me there's nothing there because I haven't posted anything in there. So you may want to go in and create a few posts and then come back in and modify this. The nice thing about WordPress is you can go in and change the template at any point in time. Now, in your posts or on your sites, you're going to have a couple of main areas. You're going to have a main display area, which if you were to use this template, would be over here on the left, and then along the right-hand side, it's got some links and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click Activate in the upper right-hand corner because I think this is going to be a decent site for the type of stuff that we're doing here. And what that's going to do now is it's going to change the way our post displays. One of the things you can also do is up at the top here where it says Marky Johnson's blog, if I command click on a Mac on that, it will open up in another tab the site. So now I have a quick way of going back in and taking a look and seeing how this looks. So I'm just going to click back over here and we've got that all set up. All right, so to create a post at any point in time, you can go up in the upper right hand corner and you're going to see a little button for new post. If you click on that, you're going to get your main post area. All right, now the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to write a headline. Now, creating a headline is really important because what's going to happen is the headline is going to appear up at the top in what's called the title bar here. And this is one of the main areas that search engines look at. So you want to put some good keywords in there. So let's put some information in here. We're going to create a little fake post. So a primer on digital technology, because those are all words that people might use to search for something. All right. So there's our headline, and then we can come down here into this area here, and this is where we're going to actually write our post. Now there's two philosophies here. One is you can actually write in here because it's got a basic text editor, or you can write someplace else and then copy and paste it here. If you have sort of a sketchy internet connection, I probably recommend writing it in something simple like TextEdit and then copy and pasting it once you can get back online. Some folks just, if they have very good connections and they're very comfortable, they can do all of the writing here. You will get spell check, but you won't get like grammar check, which you would get if you were writing in Word. All right, so let's go through some of the buttons that are in here. In the upper right-hand corner, we have Visual and HTML. Visual is going to give us the primary, is going to be our primary area for writing, because it'll allow us to go in and do what's called WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get editing. If we click over to HTML, this is where we would see all that HTML coding that we talked about in a previous week there. For the most part, you're not going to want to mess around with HTML this semester, but just know that it is there. So in Visual, we can go ahead and say, this is a post. It is only a post. Now, if I were to just simply come over and click on Publish right now, which I can do, I have now created my first post. And it's going to take a second here to chug along because my internet connection seems to be a little slow. So if I come back over to my main site and I hit Command R for refresh, we will see a primer on digital technology. This is a post. It is only a post. Now, some of the other things that have popped up here is we now have written by Mark E. Johnson. Okay, if we come down here to users, this is something I should have mentioned before, but I forgot. One of the things we're going to want to do is click on your own user name, because there's some settings in here that you want to have. All right. The first thing you want to do is you want to come in and make sure that your first name, last name, full name, and how it displays publicly are all the way you want it to be set up. If you leave this stuff blank, if you don't set this stuff up, you're going to get an author name of just Marky Johnson, which is kind of a little awkward. Gravatars are something we're not going to talk about, but if you search on Gravatar, it's kind of a cool thing that you can do and get this little icon set up there tied into your address. All right, so let's go back to our post for a moment here. And all I need to do is come over to Posts and click on Posts. I'm going to click on this because there's a couple of things that I want to do. First thing I want to do is I want to talk about the tools that we have in here. So we have the ability to go in and click bold, uncheck that, italics, strike through. Strike through is something that you actually use quite a bit online. If you go back in and you edit something, as opposed to printing a correction, what you can do is go through, select the text that you want to correct, put a strike through on it, and then put it in, update or new info or corrected info after it. It's just one of those little pieces of punctuation that has become more popular on the web. We can also come in and create unordered lists or ordered lists, and ordered lists will have numbers on it. And then there's what's called a block quote function. So if I were to go in and say, put in a quote that I picked up from someplace else, let's just pretend this is it, I could then put it in a block quote, and depending upon the template that I'm using will alter the way it's displayed. This is really common because one of the things that you do a lot of on blogs is quoting from other people and linking to other people. So let's get to linking. I'm going to unquote that. So let's say that this "it is only a post" is something that I wanted to link to. So I'm going to click over here and let's just pretend that I want to link that to CNN.com. So I'm just going to copy the URL from up there, come down. I've got this highlighted, and I can come over here to this chain. I'm going to click on this, and then in link URL, I can just paste. Now below it is an important thing, target. Target will determine whether, when somebody clicks on that link, whether it replaces the page you're on and opens it in the same window, or if it creates a new window. And here's my thinking on this. If I'm linking to myself, I'm going to open link in the same window. So I'm just going from one page on my site to another page on my site. If I'm taking somebody from my site to a completely different site, I always set it to open link in a new window. And what that does is this gives them a visual cue that they're going someplace else, that they're going to a different website. The advantage to this is when they say, oh, I'm done with this, and they close that window, they're going to come back to my original window. So then go ahead and click Insert, and that allows you to have a link. Now, continuing along here, past block quote, we've got some left align, center align, right align things here. We have a break here, which is an interesting thing. What we can do here is we can say on our main page, we want to see just the first paragraph or however much it is, and then they have to click through, click a More button to see what's coming after it. Depending upon the length of your posts, probably don't want to do that. Length of post is really interesting because the longer your post is, the much more interesting it has to be. There are some people who believe that on a blog you should never have more than one screen's worth of information, that if they have to scroll down, they're probably not going to do it. Not so sure that I subscribe to that, but that is one of the philosophies that's out there. So we're not going to worry too much about that more command, but we are going to worry about something called excerpt, and that's this next window that's down here. What this will allow you to do is on some sites, depending on the templates, is instead of picking up your main post information up here, what it's going to do is it's going to pick up whatever's here, display that on your main page. When they click on that, it's going to bring you to a separate page that's going to have your main information on it. Again, it's nice to know about, not something we're going to worry too much about right now. What we are going to worry about are categories, which is over here on the right. And right now I have one category and it's called uncategorized, which is a terrible thing to have on there. So what I want to do is click new category, and now I want to create a digital literacy one. You can see that I am not the greatest typist in the world, but I can get it done. So I'm going to create add new category. This is now going to give me this option here. So I'm going to uncheck uncategorized. Taxonomy, folksonomy. Two phrases that you've probably heard before, never thought a whole lot. Taxonomy is a scientific way of categorizing different things. Folksonomy is a non-scientific way of doing it. It's a very broad sort of an idea here. Categories in WordPress are a taxonomy. You're going to create a limited number of categories based upon whatever it is that you're writing about. So for instance, on the visualjournalism.info website, we have categories for technology, for actual pictures, for multimedia, for video, for the craft of visual journalism, for business, for ethics, things along those lines. Occasionally we'll also start tagging things, and tagging things is a less formal way of categorizing things. So maybe I want to do something that's only about local issues, local information. So I might have an ethical breach at a local publication, so I want to put that under ethics for a category, but I also want to tag it to my local area, so I can do that as well. To create tags, you can come down here and you can just add new tags as well. As a general rule of thumb, I don't do a lot of tags on my sites, but I do an awful lot of categories. Nothing goes out if it doesn't get grouped into a category. All right, so now if I click update here, once that finishes updating, I'm going to come back over here and refresh this. You're going to see that now this is posted in a category of digital literacy. Also, along the right-hand side, with this template, I've now got a category for digital literacy. And what will happen is as I add new categories, it's going to keep adding them here. And if I were to click on this, if I had multiple posts in there, everything that I have put in the category of digital literacy will pop up there. So it's a good way for people to come in, again, on the visualjournalism.info site. If they're concerned about ethics, they can go click on the ethics category, and everything that I've written about or linked to about ethics will pop up there. All right, so let's come back over here. And let's talk about inserting and sizing images. So let's pretend that this is now going to become a post. Actually, let's do this. Let's go ahead and create a new post. Now, I typed a little bit there, so I'm just going to click update, let that cycle through, new post, and this is a post with a photo of someone famous. A few months ago, a very famous basketball coach by the name of John Wooden has passed away. So I'm just going to write a real short blurb in here. John Wooden. That's all. Again, not very lengthy. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a photo of John Wooden. So I'm going to come up here to where it says Upload Insert, and I've got some options here for adding a bunch of different things. And I'm going to add an image. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to select the file, because I have this file sitting on my desktop. This is a photograph that I made of Coach John Wooden when he was visiting the Basketball Hall of Fame many years ago. And if I scroll down here, I have an option for caption. So what I'm going to put in here is John Wooden at the Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield. And I'm going to put a photo credit on there as well. Photo slash. All right. Now, as I continue down here, I've got a couple of options. I can set the alignment, and I think I want this on left alignment, and I'm going to run it at full size. And then I'm going to click Insert into Post. And then up here, I have a preview button. So I can click Preview, and I can see what this post would look like. So there it is. I've got a photo sitting in there. Now I can see that it's spilling out a little bit over here, so I might not want to go to full size on that one. So I'm going to come back in here, and if I click on the image in the upper left-hand corner, I'm going to get this little Edit Image button, and I can come in here, and this is going to let me go ahead and change a couple of things. One of the things I can do is I can change the alignment. I can edit that image caption that's here, and I can also now scale that image. So I'm going to bring it down to, say, 70%. Click Update, click Preview again. There we go. We've made that image a little bit smaller, so it fits a little bit better. All right. So that's how we can add images in there. Let's create a new category for old photos. Add that category. It selects it. Go ahead and publish that one. So now we have that sitting out there. All right. Okay. So I'm going to come back over here to my main site. You can see that it's added this new post of this is a post with a photo of someone famous. All right. And if I click on this, one of the things that's really important is comments. So I can come down here, and it's going to look a little different when other folks log in, but because I am logged in at this point in time, it's giving me a little blurb that looks like this. Now, what this allows folks to do is they can come in and they can say, "That's a terrible photo. How dare you?" All right? And then you can click Submit Comment. Now, comments are really important because if I submit this, it's going to show up at the bottom of that post. Okay. Now this is tagging it back to me. If somebody besides me or somebody who wasn't logged in came in, they're going to have to give us a name, an email address. They're also going to have the option of putting in a URL to their own website. Now this is great because this is how blogs grow traffic, but it's also how traffic from spam ends up everywhere. If I'm out there and I'm reading somebody else's website, if I'm reading somebody else's blog and they have said something that I want to participate in their conversation with, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to make my comment, give them my full name. I always post under my full name. I'm going to give them my email address because that's how they verify that it's not spam. But I'm also going to plug in the URL to one of my websites. Now, if it's something about visual journalism, I'm going to plug in the visualjournalism.info one. If it's something about some other area of interest that I have, and I've got a website about that, I may plug in the website for that. Now, one of the things that'll happen is if somebody comes through, they read a post, they read a story, they read the post, then they start reading the comments that are below it. If there's a link there that takes them to somebody's website and it's a smart comment, they may click on it. And now if I go in and I post something on, say, Mindy McAdams' teaching online journalism site, which I read fairly regularly, she makes some really, really smart posts on there, and she asks some really, really good questions. And so sometimes I'll go in and I'll leave a comment and I'll leave a link back to my site. If somebody thinks that my response was smart, they're going to click on that link, and that now drives traffic back to my website. Now, the downside to all of this is something called spam. Probably 99% of the links that get posted on websites are spam, but there are really, really good filters out there. So one of the things that you're going to want to do from time to time is come back over to your dashboard and come down to comments, and you're going to see the comments that are there, and you have the option to unimprove them, which will basically delete them, label them as spam if the spam filter didn't catch it, or just send them to the trash. All right? If you unapprove it, it keeps the comments in your database, but it doesn't publish it. If you trash it, it just deletes it completely. So paying attention to comments is something that's really important. All right, so the next thing that we want to talk about are pages. All right, so over here on the left, we're going to click on pages, and WordPress automatically gives you an about page. So this is basically a very, very simple kind of a thing. What you want to do here is the bio that we had you write a few weeks ago, I want you to go find that, copy, paste it into here so that on your site, and we'll go back to the site here, someplace there's going to be a link for pages to about. And what you want to have in here is just 1 or 2 paragraphs about who you are, what it is that you're trying to do here, something along those lines. All right? Okay, the last thing that we want to talk about in setting up your site is something called widgets. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down here to Appearance, and we have something called widgets. Now, widgets are little things that you can put into the sidebar on there. So you can put something about Akismet, which is the spam stuff. I don't know why you would want that in there. You could put your blog stats out there so that other folks can see it. You can create a calendar of your site's posts. You can create a category cloud, which is kind of a cool thing. So let's get that, and all we're going to do is click on it and drag it over here into our sidebar. All right, and we're going to click Save very quickly. We're not going to do a whole lot of customizing of this. Let's come back to our main site, and now over here on the right, you can see we have this category cloud. What will happen is the more items you put into a category, the larger that text is going to get. Now, one of the things that you've just seen is that before we had a whole bunch of things over there in the sidebar, we've taken all of that stuff out as soon as we go in and start customizing it. So you want to think about what it is that you want over there. So I like having the category cloud over there. I'm also going to put something called meta over there, because what this is going to do is this is going to allow us to log in to our site. So I'm going to click save again, come back over here, refresh it, and once this finishes refreshing here, we will see that we now have the ability to log in very, very quickly by just coming to our main site. Right? You can put all kinds of different things in there. You can create a blog roll, which is a list of links to other sites that you like to connect to. You can put more information about your RSS feed in there. You can put a tag cloud in there. You can just put some arbitrary text in there. You can get Twitter to feed into this so that you can see your Twitter stream or other people's Twitter streams in there if you really want to. There's all kinds of different things that you can do. And down here, you're going to want to add some of this back in depending upon the template. You want to make sure that you have pages in there. Now, the template that we have only has that sidebar. So I want to create the pages. Put that back in there. Let's see if there's anything else in here. I don't think there's anything else in here that I want. Oh yeah, let's put search in there so that folks can come through and search through your database. So let's put that up top. Let's click save on all of those and refresh. And there we go. So now we've got a little search bar. So we could do a search for wooden, and it's going to pop that up as a search result. We've got our about page that's sitting here. We've got our tag cloud. Sorry, category cloud, and we've got our ability to log in. So that's the basics. You've now learned how to create a post. You need to go in and adjust your settings, adjust your templates a little bit. Let's go through the vocabulary for this word, for this assignment. First one is going to be blog, and here's the definition for a blog. The word blog, B-L-O-G, actually comes from two separate words, web, log, and essentially that was an online journal. And back in the 1990s, folks would hand code these things, and they would add a new post whenever they wanted to, redo all of the HTML on it. We now have blogging software like WordPress, like Blogger or Blogspot, or Movable Type or Tumblr. These are all different types of blogging software. The word blog is sometimes used as a pejorative, when really a blog is just any type of a content management system that can publish to the web. So the content management system that we're using in WordPress is very, very similar to things that the New York Times or CNN.com or MSNBC.com or other sites are using to publish as well. Content management systems look different, but they all act in basically similar ways. So once you've learned one of them, all you're going to end up doing is sort of learning where the buttons are for other ones. So once you've mastered WordPress, you can move to Blogger or a custom one for a different publication pretty easily. RSS, Real Simple Syndication. We've talked about it before. WordPress will automatically generate RSS feeds. Again, they'll be sitting up in the title bar. SEO, Search Engine Optimization. We're not going to go into a whole lot of depth about this, but search engine optimization for blogging primarily comes from two areas. The first is the headlines or titles that you put on things. It's the first thing that is used to choose to make selections for search engine displays. The second thing is links. The more incoming links you have to your site, the higher your search engine ranking is going to be. That's why comments are so important. If you go out and you put comments on other people's websites with links coming back to your site, that raises your visibility in search engines. All right? So headlines, again, they factor into search engine optimization. Excerpts, depending upon how you want to set your site up, you may only want to have a 1 or 2 paragraph teaser on the front page that then links to another post. The more linking into your site that you have to do, the more difficult it is for your viewers, but the cleaner your display is going to get on the front page as well. Right? The next is link text, and we didn't talk about this a whole lot, so I want to go back. The text that you choose to use for links to other sites is really important. People who just say, there's a really great story over on CNN.com, you should read it, and then put click here and use the click here, that's really terrible link text because folks have no idea what it is that they're getting. Right? A better idea is to say something along the lines of CNN.com has a great investigative report published today that looks at the oil cleanup in the Gulf of Mexico. And that entire section could then be selected and linked back, highlighted and linked back to the site. so that when somebody clicks on it on your site, they know exactly what it is that they're going to end up getting. So link text. Think about the text that you're actually using to link. And then the last piece of vocabulary for this week is comments. The importance of comments can't be underestimated. Getting people to read your site and comment on your site helps you become a better journalist, because that's instant feedback that you can get. It's also important that you go out and you leave comments on other people's sites. One, so that you can get traffic coming back to your site. And two, it's also a great way of forcing yourself to go out and look at what other people are doing online. If you go look at a website and the average post only has 1 or 2 comments on it, you can kind of guarantee that they're not getting a whole lot of traffic. If you go and look and they've got 50, 100, 200, 500 comments on every single post, that's a site that's got a lot of traffic. Study it. Find out what it is about that site that people are very, very interested in. All right, so your assignment. You have to go to WordPress.com and create an account. Remember, you're going to need to use an email address, and you want to create a blog name, a blog title, a blog site that's got a relevant name. Try and get your own name for your first one. That's a great way to start. Once you have gone ahead and gotten that, you're going to come into class, you're going to choose a template. Then you're going to go through the settings and make sure that your name is going to display properly, that your date and time is all set. You want to go ahead and add at least 2 widgets to your sidebar. Now, depending upon which template you choose will determine how your widgets are going to appear and which ones you need and which ones you don't need. You want to create an about page with the bio you wrote earlier this semester. All right. Next thing I want you to do is I want you to create a post about why you chose this template. All right. You need to go through and study those templates. Think about who your audience is. What sort of things are you going to be posting? If you're going to post a lot of photographs, you want something that's going to allow you to run big pictures. If you're going to do a lot of text, you want something that's easy to read. So study them, figure out which ones are going to work. Included in that first post, I want you to get a screenshot of the template that you're using and insert that as an image. Now on the Mac, there's 2 ways of doing that. You can do a screenshot of the entire screen by hitting Command-Shift-3, and that's going to take a little snapshot and drop it onto your desktop, and it's going to be called Screenshot 1 or something like that. The other way that you can do it is you can do Command-Shift-4, and when you do Command-Shift-4, you're going to get a little target, and that's going to allow you to draw a box over your window, and then as soon as you release, it's going to drop that image onto your desktop. I'd probably do the Command-Shift-4 because that allows you to get just the window that you want, but Command-Shift-3 is fine. Okay, again, create a post talking about why you chose this template and put a screenshot image in there. Once you've done that, you need to send a link for your blog, your WordPress.com site, to your professor so that they can take a look at it and add it to their blog roll. All right, that wraps up content management systems. Hope this makes sense. If you've got any questions, again, as always, go see your professor. They're the experts on this. This series was produced for the Journalism Department of the Grady College of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of Georgia by a grant from the James M. Cox Institute for Newspaper Management Studies.